Let's talk a little bit about tracking and attribution. So as you can see, we've created the ads. We've in this case, I've also got a landing pages that create ads. I've run it a bit. I've spent $82, and I've got some stats. But LinkedIn is really poor in terms of how how the amount of data that it gives you for analysis. So assuming you running Google Analytics on your website or any form of analytics, you should be able to go into and have a look at how your ads are performing. But before we do that, let's have a quick look at some of the benchmarking that LinkedIn has done. So this is obviously Phelim McMahon, who's given some benchmarking data on the business LinkedIn pages. So we essentially ended up creating the sponsored content, which the benchmark is at minimum of 0.30 as the CTR and the range of 35 to 45. So if you're hitting a 0.45 CTR, you're already on the higher range of expected CTR from most running ads. So if you're doing that, that's great. You would continue looking at that variation of the ad and then trying to improve that variation to continue doing better. For the text ads that you'll run, the minimum CTR is 0.01 and the range from 0.012 to 0.03. So you can see that the text ads have a much lower CTR than the sponsored content, and they'll end up having lower quality of clicks or even lower number of, they'll have more clicks, but they'll probably end up being a lower quality of clicks, and that's why they're going to be cheaper as well to be able to run text ads. And then you have your sponsored emails, which sort of goes into your inbox with a minimum open rate of 20% and a CTR of 1.5%, with the range for the CTR between 2 to 5%. So if you can get 5%, you've already killed it with the sponsored email. A lot of people are opening up the obviously looking at or clicking the call to action on that sponsored email. So that's a bit about the benchmarks there. So you can obviously see that even with a 0.45%, you would already be winning on the sponsored content. But if you're running Google ads or you're running Facebook ads, then anything below 1.5% would probably be laughable. So keeping that in mind, how do we ensure that we get accurate data, and not only from LinkedIn but from our own website and analytics, to be able to ensure that we are seeing proper attribution taking place? So one of the ways, if you're running text ads, is to ensure that you tag the parameters, as many parameters as you can, so that Google Analytics will recognize where the traffic is originating from. So what I recommend doing is go ahead, copy the, go ahead to this URL, which is the campaign URL builder on Google Analytics demos and tools. I'll give you the link in this chapter. Go ahead, put your URL in, and then use the tagging parameters here to specify what the tagging looks like. So for an example, in the terms of source, this is a LinkedIn source, so I'll put in LinkedIn. In terms of the campaign medium, you are either running the first campaign, which is either prospecting for the first time, or you are it's targeting for the first time. So I'll go F targeting, so first targeting. And then for the name of the campaign, you probably know it's Google Analytics, foundations course. So I could probably go around that. So I could say Google Analytics Foundation. Now I can even have the actual sometimes I can even have the actual name of the ad set. So if I'm running campaign groups, so if my group was called something else, then I would have that. So in my case, it's Google Analytics Foundation and Google Analytics Foundation. But if I'm running the retargeting, I would call this retargeting. But I'll leave that for now. So I'll call that Google Analytics Foundation. And the campaign content is, again, I've just you could say if there was one ad, you could say what the ad was about. But the more data you give into the UTM into the parameters, the more you're going to end up getting out of it. So I take that, copy that URL, and then when you're running the text ads, if you're designing the text ads, so let's see if I can quickly demonstrate to you. So if I go back And if I can see if I can create a text ad in here. Let's just quickly, probably not, but I'll give this a shot nonetheless. So I could actually do this in terms of the destination URL, right? And so if I'm running text ads, if I'm giving them the final destination URL as this URL, then what ends up happening is that people will land on that URL with the full UTM parameters intact in the URL. So Google Analytics will track that and essentially attribute the traffic to LinkedIn along with additional data around what the medium was, what the source was. So if there's more custom segments I need to run on my LinkedIn, then I can obviously see that and see where or what campaigns were performing on LinkedIn. So make sure you absolutely tag every single URL that you send from that you send traffic to from LinkedIn. Use the campaign URL builder to be able to build a URL. Go back, have that as the final destination URLs for your campaigns. So that's the main thing. The other thing is Google Analytics. Sometimes it's lazy, whether you want to call it lazy or sometimes just not accurate. So you might even have to run a custom report to track everything that's coming in from LinkedIn. You could either create a custom report, or you could simply import from from the gallery what some other people have been doing. So if you just type in LinkedIn here, you would see some other people have already created some of these reports. So LinkedIn dashboard, or social networks LinkedIn, or some of the other reports that people have created. So depending on how many people sort of using that report, or how many people have used that report in the past, and some of the ratings there, you could just import that report and see. So I've already imported, for an example, I've imported the LinkedIn dashboard on my custom report, and I will go in and see. I can see that it's already showing me the click IDs in there, and some of the traffic that I've gotten from LinkedIn. So that's how you would essentially set up your tracking. You want to be able to see some advanced data in terms of what the click-through rates are. If traffic is coming in, what the conversion rates are. Under the acquisition tab, for an example, if I have a look at all traffic and source medium, you can see that LinkedIn doesn't have any goal conversions. For an example, LinkedIn doesn't have any goal conversions here. You can see bounce rates from LinkedIn, so it's about 88%. So a lot of this data will help you understand and make decisions on whether LinkedIn is really working for your ad sets. So make sure you use the campaign URL builders. Make sure you have the benchmark scores in mind when designing and developing and continuing to run your campaigns. And make sure that you use analytics to provide proper attribution to the sources, including paid conversions, to be able to make decisions on whether LinkedIn campaigns are the right thing for you to continue running.